Okay. So in today's webinar, we'll first cover some basic topics about how to create a query, that is to get the data out in a raw data format, and then how you can save the query, share it with others, schedule queries. So schedule query is one of the recent features where you can run queries automatically at specific time intervals, and then how you can import export query. Then we learn about some advanced topics like temporal queries, that is calculated searches, hierarchical queries, that is if you want to find child specimens based on some filters on the parent specimen, subqueries, and finally we'll also see some count-based summary reports. So if you want to just see counts rather than the raw data, how do you do that? So let's go ahead and get started. We'll first see how to create a new query or report, and we'll also see how you can include a custom field filter, and we'll use the demo site for this. So this is our public demo site for the newcomers. If you want to try out the software, you can sign up for an account on demo.openspecimen.org. So anybody who has access to query data, so in previous versions, in roles, if you had access to just read, if you had just read permissions on the data, then you could query. But in the recent versions, we have added a new privilege. So if you go to any, say for example, let me go into administrator role. So for every resource, you can also give a query privilege, and you'll be able to then assign someone who can do queries on the data. So, and then let me show you how to go about creating a new report. So you can either go to queries from the menu here or from home screen. So if you go to home screen, right now I'm logged in as super admin, so I see a lot of options here. But as other user roles, as I mentioned, if you have access, then you'll be able to see the data based on that. So now I'll go into queries. So as soon as I go into queries, I'll see a list of saved queries. So in a new instance, that when you install OpenSpecimen, you would be able to see a folder called default queries. So this will have a set of queries that we ship with OpenSpecimen. So these are some commonly used queries that we have heard from our clients, and we have made it available for your use. You can either refer to this when you want to create new reports, or you can build your own reports. So to build a new query or report, you click on create. So here you have options to add filters. So on the left hand side, you see multiple options here. So every field in OpenSpecimen, you can query on that, and of course you can also include that in your results view. So let's see how to go about that. So for our training purpose, we'll use this query. That is, I want to find all breast tumor samples from female patients having a specific diagnosis and a specific value for the biomarker. So as you see, this particular query is involving a lot of fields of OpenSpecimen. So of course, you'll need to know which fields you want to query upon. So for example, now I want to search for only female patients. I need to know that it comes under the gender field. So if you see here, these are all different forms which will have different fields in it. So if you want to add a filter under participant, then you click on this. It will open up all the fields under participant. So I can select a field and add a filter like this. So if you see here, as soon as I select a field, I have an option to add any type of filter, like whether I want to search for specific value, or it might be, starts with, ends with, or other operators like this. As of now, I'll just say equals female. So that's my first filter. So as I'm adding new filters, it gets added over here. So similarly, I can add other filters on, say, specimen attributes. In our example, we want to see only tissue samples. So what I can do is I can either add types. So if I want to add more than one type, then there is an operator called ease one off. So this is a very useful operator. So I'll show you in a bit what it means. So suppose I say, I want to look for frozen tissue as well as fixed tissue. So this will add a filter like this. So it will either search for frozen tissue or fixed tissue. And as I'm adding filters, between the filters, the operator is by default and, but you can change it either by clicking here to or you can use this and change it. So if you want to add more operators, you can just click it there. So that's the and or operator there. So similarly, if you want, you can add other conditions. Suppose since I want only breast samples, I can say I want only breast sample. So here, if you see, most of the fields in open specimen are drop down. So even when you're adding filters, the values are available as drop down. So you can select the values based on that. And here, I want a specific diagnosis. So I'll go to my visit. So diagnosis is under here. So in recent version, we have also added the diagnosis code. So in open specimen, the diagnosis is based on ICD-10 coding, but you can change based on your, so I'll just copy this diagnosis here. And I'll again put equals operator. And add this. And as I'm adding filters, if I want to just make sure that there are, values returning for my filters, I can say first to get count to see if there are matching records. As you see, there are 6 specimens or aliquots which are returning for these different conditions. So now I just missed out this one here. On the top, you see one drop down here. So here you can select a particular protocol if you want to search for specific protocols data, or if you want to search across protocols, you can choose none. And in the recent version, we also have option to search groups. So I can search, let me see. Yeah. So if you see here, these are all collection protocol groups. So what this will allow you to do is group multiple collection protocols within a category. So for example, you have all breast cancer studies under this particular group, then you'll be able to search across all the protocols within this group. This is very helpful if you have custom forms associated to all these protocols, then you'll be able to search fields, for custom fields across all the protocols using these groups. Okay, so right now I'll not choose any collection protocol. Or maybe I'll just choose this one. So what I'm saying is I want to search for female frozen tissue breast samples from a particular diagnosis. Now comes the adding the custom field condition. So if you have added any custom forms or fields, it will again come under any of these categories based on to which level you have attached to. Suppose it's a specimen level custom field. So when you click on it, all these are the default fields. And if you scroll down, so these are all the event plus the form fields. So if you see here, there's this biomarker field. So if I want, I can just select here and add the condition. So I can put a condition like this and this will get added. So if I am not sure of the exact field name, I can also, since there are so many fields under specimen, I also have the option of searching the field over here. So this is how you can add multiple filters. And just one more point. So if you select a numeric field when you're adding filter, so suppose I chose identifier, the operator list is different. So it has equals, less than, greater than. Whereas if you choose a string or drop down value, then it is, starts with, ends with, contains. So based on the field type, the operators also change. Okay, so I have now all my conditions. Now if I say get count, so there are some 5 specimens which are returning for my filter. Let's go ahead and view those specimens. So when I say view records, by default, the view is always going to be in a table view. So, and these are the default columns that are going to appear for every query. And if you want to change these columns, then as a super admin, you can go to settings. So, in specimen settings, so if you search for query, and here is the list of fields valued displayed in default result view. If you see here, there is a default list already there. You can just download that and change if you want. So please note, this is only to change the default columns. That is, whenever you run a new query, what are the columns that are visible? Those columns, you can change it. But otherwise, for your every report, you can have your own set of columns. That is, if you go to actions, there is this columns using which you can choose, pick and choose any columns you want. Suppose I want to know under which visit does this appear. So I can, select some visit fields. I can add, say, I want to say, where are these specimens stored? So I want to include those container details. I can include that. Now, because I queried on the biomarker fields, I want to also include that in my results. Suppose I just want estrogen receptor, so I can do that. So this way I can pick and choose what I want in my results view. So that is using the columns. I can also rearrange my columns. So if you see here, there's a note here. So you need to just drag and drop. Suppose I want my visit fields before specimen, I can just drag and drop them. So in my result view, it will order it based on that. And within visit also, suppose I want to put visit site before name, I can just drag and drop like this. Now, since I have selected all my columns, I'll just do done. So now I'll see the new columns that I selected. So visit site, name, if they have, box name. And there is container hierarchy as well, which will show you the whole hierarchy. That is the freezer, rack, box, all the details. So now you have all your columns. So suppose you don't like the column headers. If you want to change the column headers, again, you go to columns and click on next. So in the first step, you select the fields you want in the results. You can change the order and then you go to next. You can rename them. Suppose you want PPID to be subject ID. Gender, you want to name it as sex. So this way you can change any field name. So I don't want such a long name. Suppose I want only this much. And I want this as box name. So I can do whatever I want and say done. So now this will rename my columns. So if you see here, this has got renamed. So these are the things I can do using the columns action here. So now once I am happy with my query, I can go ahead and save it. So I can save it with a name. So webinar query, female breast samples, okay, and save this. So now when I save a query, it appears under the queries list, but it only appears to the owner. So this, when I log in, I can see it. But if I want others to access this, what I need to do is select that query, assign it to a folder. Either I can assign it to existing folder or create a new folder. I'll just create a new webinar training queries. And when I'm creating the folder, I can share it with other users. I can either share it with specific users by selecting from here, or I can share it with all users and say create. So what this will do is it will create a folder and share that folder. So if you have, say, some 10 to 15 queries you want to share with your lab users, then you can make a folder of all those queries and share it with others. And when they log in, they will see that folder under shared folders and they'll be able to access it. Of course, they'll be able to run that query only if they have access to the data of that query. So again, it depends on what kind of role they have. Okay, so that's how you create a new query. And if I go back, if I want to edit that query, I can click here and edit it. So it will come back to this page. I can edit if I want and make any new changes. Suppose now I don't want to search specific type of specimen. So what I can do is there is a feature called parameterized query. So suppose I say all and make it parameterized filter. I can put any name or I can just leave it blank and edit it. So what happens is, first of all, this filter gets a P icon here. And when I say view records, the type field which I made parameterized, it appears here. This way I can select in my results view what I want to filter out. So suppose now I want to see only frozen tissue, I can just select from here. So parameterized filter allows you to select filters dynamically in the results view. So this is useful if you want to create some generic queries to your lab users, then you can make them parameterized, and you can save these queries with parameters so that they can run and change the filters as they wish. So whenever you make changes to the query, so you can save them as using this save option, which will override the existing query, or you can make a copy. So if I want, I can make a version 1, version 2 out of it, so and save a copy. So this will make two similar queries, but the second query has the edits that I made. So this is how you can make a copy of a query and make changes in it if you want. So so this is how you can create a query. You can save, you can share it with others, and you can change the columns you want to see in your results view. So now let's go ahead and see what else you can do with the reporting module. So we saw this example. Now we'll see scheduled queries. So so when you have created a query, so when you come to this queries list, if you click on this three dots here, there is an option to schedule. So if you click on that, so you have option to schedule it monthly, weekly, daily. Suppose I want to run this weekly. So it will ask which day of the week. Suppose I want it every Monday. If you want, you can put the time of the day, and you can notify some users. So what this will do is, every time, so every Monday when this report runs, this particular user will get an email so that they can log in and download the report. So this is how you can create a scheduled report. So this is very helpful if you are creating like, summary reports, which you want to just see in a month how many specimens were collected by in different sites or different studies. You can just create such summary reports and schedule it. So, and this is a new feature which was added a couple of versions before. So that's the scheduled query. So in the recent versions, we added a couple of default queries which you can schedule if it's useful for you. One of the example is participants turning 18 in next to 90 days. So there might be some pediatric study you're doing where you need to reconsent the patient after they turn 18. So if you go to default query, so this query is now available for you if you want to use this. And again, you can schedule this query to run every 3 months or every month, so that who is turning 18 in the next 90 days. So this particular, so if you see their date of birth, they're going to turn 18 in few weeks. So that is one of the default queries available. Again, another useful scheduled query that you can set up is anticipated visits. Suppose you have a clinical trial you are running and you want to know how many visits you are anticipating in the next week. So every Monday, you just want to know how many patients are going to visit for sample collections. Then you can use this again. It's again a default query. If you go to default queries, there is this anticipated visits in next month. So again, this is something you can use as a scheduled query if you want. So those are the scheduled query. Now we'll move on to temporal queries. What is temporal queries? So you can do calculated searches between dates or numeric fields. So what are the examples? Suppose you want to calculate age of the patient at collection or at surgery visit or as of today. So how is this helpful? So in patient, you are going to enter only date of birth. You don't want to enter age at every visit. Instead, you want it to be as a calculated field. So that is how you can use it. And the other example, which is very commonly used, is you want to know how much time the specimen was out of freezer. So from the time of collection, how much time did it take to to be received in the lab? How much time was it on the table before you processed it, and was it frozen? So all these things, you can calculate the time difference between these date time fields so that you know how much time it was out of freezer. So because you, when you're collecting specimens, you're going to enter, collection date and time, receive date and time, frozen date and time. And now you using reporting, you can find the time difference between these. So we'll see how to do some of these examples now. So I'll create a new query. So to create temporal queries, you need to click on this icon here. Okay. And you need to put expressions here. So from the first look of it, you might feel it is complicated, but you can refer to our document when you're doing this kind of queries. So once you get a hang of it, you'll be able to do it. So, and there are many examples in our help manual. So if you go under reporting, so there are some sample queries, and for each topic, there is a different page. So for example, if you see calculated fields, there is what all the functions you can use, how to use those, and some examples. So there are, plenty of things you can refer to. So now since we want to calculate age of the patient between the collection date and the date of birth. So what you need to do is, and what is the difference you want to find, the years between those dates, right? So you need to first put the function, which is years between. So if I go back to my manual here, so these are some of the functions that are available: months between, minutes between, and years between. So these are the functions that you can do between two different dates. So for our example, we'll use years between. Now, you need to enter the higher date first, that is the collection date. So I'll put, and that collection date is under specimen. So the format of it is, you first type under which level is that field, which is specimen. And as you see, when I'm typing, it is prompting me with, the probable things that I can select. So I don't even have to type the whole thing. I just type the first few letters and I can just select the ones that I want from here. So this is my collection date, and I put a comma and put the other date that I want to find the difference. So that would be participant date of birth. So participant dot, and I can use date of birth. Now between these 2 years, I can either say any, which means I want to find all the age, all the, participants' ages for each specimen collection, or I can say I want only those for whom the age is greater than 20. So I'll name this column as age at collection. So this is how I add a temporal condition. So I start with a function, then for that function, I use 2 different dates. Now when I say view records, so now it's going to get me all the results, and now I can go to columns. And if you see here, that calculated field is a new field now. I can put it under participant if I want. Just to show you, I'm going to remove the other fields and I'm just going to keep the date of birth. And under specimen, I'm just going to keep collection date and specimen label, and I'm going to select this. So now if you see, it will show me the age at collection, and this is the time, the years between date of birth and the collection date. So this is how you can calculate age at different time points, even if you want, it can be at the visit date, or it can be received date, or whatever you want. So that's the first example. So the second example is specimen frozen after 15 minutes of receive time. For this, if you want, you can just go to your default queries. And if you see, there is this example. So you can just refer to that. So you can just click on edit, and this is the temporal condition. So it is the minutes between. So here we want the time difference in minutes. So that minutes between is the condition, and the time, it's between frozen event time and the received event time. So now if I say view records, so, and if I scroll to the left, so this is showing me the frozen time difference between the received date and the frozen time. So these are the 2 columns here, if you see. So this is how you can do calculated searches between 2 dates or 2 numbers. So you can use the temporal function. So next feature is the hierarchical query. So this is useful if you want to find child specimens based on specific characters of the parent. So again, if you go to default queries, there is an example. So if you go to default queries, if you see here, there is an example saying, I want to find all the participants having DNA derived from tumor breast frozen tissue. So we'll see how to do that. So what you need to do is first add conditions of the parent. So if you see here, this 1, 2, 3, and 6, that is type frozen tissue, collected sample, breast sample. These are all the condition of the parent. And on the right side, the 4 and 5, that is DNA sample, is the condition of the child. So you put all the conditions and then you add this operator that you see like a tree view here. So, and you put that operator between the conditions of parent and child. So to just combine the child condition, you can put parenthesis. I'll just show you. So I'll just remove these and show you how to add that. So the first steps is similar to the query that we created initially during the training. That is, you keep adding the filters. So you first add filters of all the parent conditions and then the child condition, and it will look like this. Now I need to add the hierarchical operator. So I'll add this and it will always get added in the end. So you just click here and drag it before the child conditions. Okay. And then you need to combine the child conditions. So you just put the parentheses for 4 and 5 here. So I'm sorry, this comes after and. So yeah, so this is how you do it. So first you just add all the filters, that is the filters of the parent and the filters of the child. And then you add this hierarchical operator. Then you add parentheses to combine to let the system know what are the conditions of the child. So this is how I can find specific child specimens derived or aliquoted from the parent specimen. So also note that this hierarchy is not just for the immediate child. So it drills down to all the levels under that particular parent. So suppose this breast tumor tissue was a primary specimen. Then from the fresh tissue, there was a frozen tissue. From that, there were aliquots. And from that, there were DNA made. Even though there was like, so much hierarchy, it finds the child sample based on these conditions. Okay. I'm not sure if it has values. Okay, I'll go into view records and show you. And when you do hierarchical query, it shows both the columns in the same row like this. So the first it shows the parent specimens. So this is the frozen tissue parent. And if I scroll to my right, these are the DNA specimens which are derived from that parent. So that is how you can find the child specimens from specific type of parent. So we saw that example. Next we'll see subqueries. Again, this is also a recent feature about a couple of versions before. So this was, mainly done for a client where they do very complicated use cases. And the use of this is, so if you want to get results of one query and use it as an input for another query, then you use the subquery. Okay, so let's see some examples. It will be more clear with that. One of the use cases that our client gave was, they distribute specimens to say Dr. John very frequently. So, maybe every month they dispatch samples to that researcher. But that Dr. John has given them one condition, that when I get new samples, it should never be of a patient for whom you have already given samples to me. Suppose today I gave samples of patient 1, 2, 3. And in next month, I have to make sure that when I distribute specimens to Dr. John, I don't distribute specimens from patient 1, 2, 3. So I need to exclude those patients when I'm distributing. So how do I do this? In previous version, you had to do it using 2 different queries. But now, as in you need to first run a query, export the results, use those PPIDs, and then, run the other query. But here you can just fetch the second query as a input to the first query. So let's see how to do that. So I have examples here. So all these examples are available on the demo site if you want to refer to it. Most of them are shared with everyone. So here if you see, so my first query I create is, what are all the patients who have been distributed under a specific distribution protocol? So if I edit this, I'll see that I'm just searching all the specimens that were distributed under this protocol. And if you see in my records, there are some 36 patients that got, for whom the specimens are already distributed under a specific distribution protocol. Now in my second query, so if I go back to my subqueries here, what I have done is I have excluded the results of my first query. So if you see here, I've said that remove all the patients, so is not one of. The results that come from this query, I am removing all those patient IDs in my second query. So how do you, include this condition? So let's see that. Let me remove this. I'll add participant ID. So in order to include subqueries, you have to use one of these operators. You have to either use is one of or is not one of. And suppose I say is one of, I get this option, records of another query. So I can choose that, and I can choose, list of any queries I want from, so I'll just say demo CP prompts. To find that, I'll just go back to that query. Anyway, so that's how you find, so as I mentioned, you have to either use is not one of or is one of, and that will allow you to select a query from another, results from another query, and you can add any other conditions along with it. So that will make sure, so in my current use case, this will make sure that in this results, the second query's result, it's going to remove all those patients for whom I have already distributed specimens to Dr. Joan. So that is how you can do that. So that's one example, but there are many other examples. One of the common examples is if you want to find match samples. So you want to find both tumor patients who have both tumor as well as normal tissue, or they might have, tumor tissue and a matched urine and plasma specimen. So things like that. So there are multiple use cases. So subqueries is very powerful. You can use it for a lot of such use cases. Okay. Finally, we'll see summary reports. So what are these summary reports? You can do count-based reports. You can do aggregate functions like min, max, count, sum, average. This is very useful if you're doing monthly, quarterly reports which you want to present to your stakeholders. Then you can use these kind of count-based reports. So we'll see some of the examples. Suppose you just want to see how many patients got registered in last month for a particular protocol, and I want to just see by gender how many patients exist. So what I need to do, I'll just create a new query. Whatever conditions I want, I just add it. This is similar to how you added filters before. I'll just say patient gender exists just to make sure the value exists. I can add any other condition. Suppose I want only patients for whom specimens are collected. So I'll just say specimens collected and say add. So now I go say get count to see how many are matching. So there are, some 1500 patients. So I'll say view records. So this is going to give me raw data, which I don't want. So I'll go to columns, and I'm going to remove all the columns that I don't need. So I don't need any specimen columns in my results. I just want to see patient and by gender. So I'm just, as of now, to keep it simple, I'm keeping it 2 columns. Then I go next. If I want, I can rename. And when I go next, there is this aggregate function step. So I can select this and I can say count. So this is going to give me count of patients per gender. So now when I say done, so I'll see that there is female 823, male 8695. So this way it is just giving the counts of patients by gender. So let's now add more things to this now. Let's go back to columns. And this time, instead of PPID, I'm going to select the participant ID because it's a numeric field. I just want to show you, other than count, there are many other aggregate functions that you can use. So I just wanted to show you that. So I'll just still keep this, but I'm going to add one more column to my results, which is my collection protocol short title. So now I want to find number of patients registered by different collection protocols and by gender. So these are now two fields. So now I want to put the study title first. So now I'll just say next. Just make sure I added count here. If I want, I can rename that if I want and say done. So now if you see, by default, this is giving me by protocol. So the demo longitudinal protocol has female gender 45 patients, male gender 26. So this way it's just showing me in one column. Suppose I want it in a table view. That is, if you have used pivot table in Excel, so you can create pivot tables using Open Specimen as well. So again, you go to columns and make sure when you're creating pivot table, you choose only the columns that you're going to display in your pivot table. So make sure you don't select any additional columns that will result in wrong results. So I'll go to next. I still need to select an aggregate function. So till here, the steps are same. Now I click again next. So this is my report type option. So instead of column summary, I'm going to choose pivot table, and row fields, I can choose short title, and column I want gender, and value field is always going to be the field that on which you put the aggregate function. So I can select that and say done. So now if you see by protocol and by gender, it's giving me like a table view here. Right, so this kind of pivot table you can do for any other searches. So I had another example here. Suppose you want to do Alicott's count by time point, like baseline, 30-day follow-up, all those, how many Alicott's were collected and by type. If you want to do that, then you can do that as well. So let me just show you that. Instead of this, I'll just create a new query here. And also, if you go to default queries, there are multiple queries available which you can refer to. So all these report of count, these kind of queries, they're all based on summary reports. Suppose if I show you this, so here if you see, this is based on different collection protocols. What are the different type of specimens collected across different anatomic sites? And there are some parameterized filters as well. Suppose now I select only a few protocols like this. I can see the values for those protocols and the counts of it. So this way you can select the columns that you need, add aggregate function to it. Let me just review the steps. So you go to columns, select the fields that you want in your pivot table, click on next. If you want to rename, you can rename them. Click on next again. You make sure you add the aggregate function. If you're using count, always make sure you put the count on unique fields like specimen ID, barcode, label, PPID, so that it finds the unique number of patients or unique number of specimens. Okay, and finally you choose the pivot table report type. Here for row fields you can have multiple row fields, but column can always be only one attribute, and value field is always the aggregate function field, and then you say done. So this will have a report like this, and these reports can also be saved. They can be scheduled. As I mentioned, you can schedule it like a monthly or quarterly basis, and there is also export option which exports into a comma separated value file, which you can export and see it in Excel file if you want. This export is available for both raw data based as well as the count based report. So this is an example of count based report here. And so let's go on to the next topic here. So other than adding aggregate, can also add conditions on the aggregate. So I'll show you an example of it. I just have a saved query here. Use that. So this is a very simple query, but you can use this for any such use cases here. What I have done is I want to find all the protocols which have more than 10 female patients registered. So the first step is, of course, you add conditions. So since I want only female gender patients, I have added that as a filter. And then when I say view records, I first go to columns. Again, I select only the fields that I want in my report. I go to next. I add aggregate function on whatever field I want. So since I want to count the number of patients, I have done that. And now I want only those records which have, only those protocols which have more than 10 patients. So for that, what I've done, so when you click next, there is this text box here where you can add conditions on aggregate functions. So here I have said count of patient ID is greater than 10. So this will make sure that only those protocols are returned who have greater than 10 patients. So if you see in the results view, the demo longitudinal has 49 patients, the Indian COVID has 568 and so on. So the protocols which have lesser patients, lesser than 10, they are not returned. So this way you can add conditions on even aggregate functions. So that's another function here. So this hide option in filters, again, it's a new feature. It's useful to do queries based on if you are having text fields like MRN, PPIDs, labels, kind of fields. I'm going to show you the query and explain what that means. So remember we talked about parameterized filters, right? So when you do parameterized filters, so if you see here, I've added MRN as a parameterized filter. When you say parameterized filter, there's one more option called hide option. So first I'll remove this and show you what is the difference. When I say view records. So if you see here, for all the patients that have are there in my results, they are shown as a check boxes with the list view. So this is not helpful for, if there are thousands of patients, you need to scroll down and keep, selecting like this, which is not useful. So for any field which has, let's say, MRN label and which is resulting thousands of records, it is not useful to show it as a list view. So instead of this, what I'm doing, what I'm going to do is, I'll go back and in my parameterized filter, I'll choose this option, which is hide options. So now when I say view records, instead of showing it as a list view, it is now asking me to enter like a separated by comma tab new line. So what I'll do is I just have some examples here as MRN IDs. So I'll just choose those. So if you see here, right now the patient count is 2976. I'm going to enter this MRNs and say go. So it will now return only 4 patients. So this way you can, parameterize label field or DNA fields and things, the barcode fields and things like that. So suppose, these are helpful. Suppose you get MRN list from say Epic or any other database. So you have that list in an Excel file. So you can just copy paste those values and put it here and look for those specimens or, the patients. So that is how this parameterized filter plus hide option is useful. Okay, so these are some of the main features of reporting. There are many other, smaller features like you can delete a query if you have access to delete. You can import export query. So how this is useful is, suppose you created a very complex query on your test server. You want to move that now to your production server. What you need to do is select this option here, export. Download query. And then it will download a file. You need not open or, make changes to it. You just use that file and go to the other server and import it. So that is how you can export import query. And then if there are large data exports, so as I said, you can export data, right? So suppose it is more than 10,000 and if it is taking time, it usually runs in background. It gives you a message that this is taking time. And once it's ready to download, you get an email notification. So that is another feature, so that, you know, the system doesn't get, you know, boggled down. So the system doesn't have performance issues. You also have this query audit feature where you can see who have been doing what kind of queries. So it is mostly me right now doing all the queries here. But if in your instance, you'll see other users, what kind of queries they're doing. You can click on it and see what, if it's a saved query, it will show which query. If it's an unsaved query, you can click on it and see what is the SQL behind it and whether it was a data count and things like that. So we already talked about how you can set default columns via settings. So whenever you run a query, there's a default set of columns that are displayed, right? So if you want to change that for every query, you can change it to settings. And of course, for when you run a query, if you want to change the columns, you can do that per query as well. And using this query module, not only can you see the results and, you know, export and things like that, but this is used in many other features of OpenSpecimen. Like you can create monthly protocol reports that is sent in email. You can create catalogs, you can create dashboards. We'll cover all these in more detail in another session, but just to show you how it looks like. So you can create pretty graphs for your protocol view or even the system view, where you can, you know, where the researchers can just get a feel of the summary of the data that you have. So these kind of graphs you can build using the reporting tool. So that's the dashboards here. And when you create an order, so the report that gets generated, the columns that are there in that order report is configured through query, similarly in the shipment report. So all this is done using the query module. So a query module is important and it's robust. You can create simple to complex queries without any performance issues. You don't have to depend on your IT to get the data out. So, so that's about it. So these were some of the main topics. So if you have any questions, you can always contact us. There are a lot of good materials in our help manuals. You can refer to that.